There have been lots of changes in the family, or should I say additions.
This is my boyfriend.
My name's Zach. Great to meet you.
We met 4 months ago. I finally found someone that I knew was the one.
This is Kaylin. She's my girlfriend.
I went on a couple dates. Out of the blue, I found the one. And the second time around, the absence of drama is amazing. In no situation would I ever want any of that back. So
from the outside, the Plaths once looked like America's picture-perfect fundamentalist family. White picket fences, strict values, big smiles for the cameras. Season after season, TLC packaged them as a wholesome, God-fearing clan with just a touch of quirk. But Season 7 has torn that glossy image to shreds, and what we're left with is disturbing. Behind the smiles are explosive fights, cruel bigotry, reckless behavior, and a mother who always seems ready with excuses for it all. Ethan's behavior in particular has stunned viewers. We've watched him spiral into moments of shocking ignorance and bigoted remarks that leave fans cringing and angry. His reckless antics, whether it's his drinking, his outbursts, or his refusal to take responsibility, paint a picture of a man completely out of control. And yet, every time Ethan crosses the line, who steps in to smooth things over? His mother, Kim. With her endless excuses and quiet manipulations, she shields him from accountability while simultaneously fanning the flames of dysfunction. These are not just harmless quirks. This is a family unraveling in real time, and viewers can't look away. The dysfunction on display isn't subtle. It's raw, it's ugly, and it feels all too familiar to anyone who has lived inside a toxic family system. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, and welcome to Wives Daily. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the conversation in the comments below. I love hearing your thoughts, your reactions, and your own experiences, because this show isn't just entertainment. It's a mirror into real family struggles that too many people know firsthand. And that brings us to the central theme of this season. The Plath family isn't just dysfunctional. They're a walking, talking, camera-ready showcase of every toxic stereotype rolled into one. Authoritarian parents, golden children, scapegoats, favo, rightism, manipulation, and the kind of denial that leaves everyone gasping. Season 7 doesn't just reveal cracks in the perfect family facade. It blows the whole illusion apart. If Ethan's behavior feels explosive and chaotic, Lydia's storyline is almost the opposite. Quiet, traditional, and seemingly wholesome. But dig just a little deeper, and it's clear her engagement in Season 7 is not the fairy tale it's presented as. Instead, it's a textbook example of how the Plath family's rigid, controlling environment shapes every major decision their children make. Lydia's engagement shocked viewers because it felt so sudden. One minute she was being portrayed as the sweet, obedient daughter who carried the weight of her parents' expectations, and the next she's rushing into a lifelong commitment. To the casual viewer, it might look like love. But to those who've been following the Plaths from the beginning, it looks eerily familiar. Another child pushed down a narrow, pre-approved path where marriage, submission, and duty replace personal freedom. What's striking is Lydia's lack of autonomy in all of this. Throughout the show, she's been the daughter who obeys without question, the one who prays for her family while everyone else rebels. Fans have long seen her as the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in Kim and Barry's eyes, but that golden status comes at a cost. Her choices don't feel like her own. Instead, they feel like extensions of her parents' values, and Season 7 only underscores that fact. Viewer reactions online have been divided. Some fans want to celebrate Lydia's engagement, rooting for her happiness after years of being overshadowed by her siblings' drama. But many others can't shake the uneasy feeling that this is less about Lydia finding love and more about her finding a way to survive. In a family system as rigid and suffocating as the Plaths, happiness often means conforming. For Lydia, saying yes to a proposal may not be about following her heart. It may be about following the script she's been handed since birth. And that's where the emotional weight of Lydia's story really hits. On the surface, she beams with joy, radiating the kind of innocence her parents prize. But beneath the smile, viewers are left asking the hard questions. Is Lydia truly choosing this life for herself, or is she just another daughter trying to survive a system that never allowed her to imagine an alternative? Season 7 shines a harsher light on Ethan than ever before. For years, he was framed as the protective brother, the one who would defend his sisters from bad influences and shield the younger kids from outside judgment. But this season pulls back the curtain, showing us that Ethan's so-called protectiveness often has nothing to do with care and everything to do with control. At first glance, Ethan tries to present himself as the steady one, the man holding on to family values while everyone else drifts. He talks about protecting Lydia, guarding his siblings, and standing up for the Plath name. But viewers quickly noticed how hollow that role feels. Ethan's version of protection doesn't look like love. It looks like intolerance, wrapped in a self-righteous package. We see this in how easily his words slip into bigotry, especially when confronted with people or lifestyles outside the narrow worldview he inherited from Kim and Barry. Instead of true guidance, Ethan falls back on judgment. Instead of encouraging his siblings to think for themselves, he pressures them to toe the line, to stay inside the bubble he's too afraid to step out of himself. For fans who once rooted for him as the Plath child most likely to break free, it's disheartening to see how much of that toxic legacy he still carries. The contrast becomes even sharper when you think back to earlier seasons and his relationship with Olivia. Back then, Ethan was portrayed as the husband caught in the middle, a man pulled between his loyal tie to his parents and his love for his wife. Olivia wanted growth, independence, and a life outside of the cult-like rules of the Plath household. Ethan, despite his struggles, seemed like he might be able to meet her halfway. But now, that man seems almost unrecognizable. Season 7 shows Ethan leaning harder into rigidity, hiding behind the mask of the protective brother while repeating the same patterns of control and intolerance that wrecked his marriage. And that's the tragic irony of Ethan's storyline. His protection isn't really about protecting at all. It's about controlling, about making sure no one around him strays too far from the script. In doing so, Ethan doesn't just replicate his parents' mistakes, he reinforces the very system that damaged him in the first place. Fans who once saw him as the relatable Plath son now question whether he's just another face of the same toxicity, a cautionary tale of what happens when you mistake control for love. Season 7 doesn't just spotlight Lydia's rushed engagement or Ethan's hollow protectiveness. It also turns the camera on the Plath boys, Micah, Isaac, and their brothers, whose antics reveal another troubling pattern. On the surface, their behavior is framed as goofy, harmless, and boys just being boys. But once you look closer, it's hard not to see the recklessness that lurks beneath the surface. This season gave us plenty of examples, from casually lighting fires in open spaces to pulling stunts that could have easily ended in disaster. The Plath boys carried themselves with a kind of frat-like energy, loud, careless, and fueled by the thrill of getting away with it. Scenes meant to be light-hearted or even comedic instead left viewers uneasy. After all, fire in rural areas isn't just a silly joke. It's a real danger, capable of sparking wildfires, destroying property, and risking lives. Yet to the Plath boys, it all seemed like another laugh, another story to tell, another way to shrug off responsibility. Micah, in particular, embodies this restless energy. On camera, he tries to project confidence and independence, but what comes through is a pattern of risky behavior without much reflection. Isaac, too, falls into the same rhythm, following along with the group instead of questioning whether their actions carry serious consequences. It's almost as if they've inherited a mindset where thinking things through isn't required, as long as they're having fun in the moment. What makes this even more troubling is how the family frames it. Instead of real accountability, these antics are brushed aside as typical boy behavior. Kim, who has always been quick to scold the girls for stepping out of line, treats the boys' recklessness with a shrug. The double standard is glaring. Lydia is pushed into an engagement under the banner of responsibility and purity, while her brothers get to run wild with fire and chaos, excused under the tired stereotype of boys will be boys. Viewers have picked up on it too. Many fans have voiced frustration that this behavior isn't just overlooked, it's normalized. The danger is not only in what they're doing now, but in the pattern it reinforces, that young men don't need to grow up, reflect, or take responsibility because someone will always excuse them. That's not harmless fun. That's generational negligence. By season 7, it's clear that the Plath boys' recklessness isn't just about immaturity. It's another symptom of a family system where accountability is selective, where the image of control matters more than actual safety, and where the lessons passed down only guarantee that the same mistakes will be repeated again and again. If there's one constant thread running through season 7, it's Kim Plath's steady hand, not in guiding her children toward maturity, but in excusing, enabling, and even rewarding their worst impulses. She's the matriarch who talks about structure, discipline, and values, but when the spotlight turns to her son's recklessness, suddenly the rules bend. Their fire-starting antics, just boys being adventurous, their careless stunts, laughed off as part of growing up. Meanwhile, the girls in the family face the opposite standard, pressured into responsibility, chastity, and obedience at every turn. This hypocrisy has been there for years, but season 7 makes it undeniable. Kim's selective parenting doesn't just protect the boys. It actively undermines the idea of accountability. The message is clear. The sons can play with danger, but the daughters must carry the burden of purity and family image. By excusing the boys' recklessness, Kim doesn't just minimize the risks. They're learning, through her example, that their actions don't have consequences. And that's not just favoritism, it's the very breeding ground for entitlement. But what makes this season sting even more is the role of Veronica. Early on, fans hoped she might bring a voice of reason, a softer balance against Kim's controlling ways. For a time, she was positioned as someone who could inject sanity into the chaos, a friend who might call out what others were too afraid to say. Yet in season 7, that expectation crumbles. Instead of speaking up, Veronica leans into the mean girl energy. Her interactions carry a sharp edge, not of accountability, but of alignment with Kim's narrative. Rather than offering a check on the toxicity, she becomes another participant in it. This shift is particularly disappointing because Veronica had the chance to be something different. She could have modeled empathy, questioned the double standards, or even stood up against the unfair treatment of the daughters. Instead, she slips into the role of accomplice, reinforcing the very behaviors fans hoped she would challenge. It's not just silence, it's complicity. And for viewers, that betrayal is palpable. Watching Veronica trade in, her potential as a truth-teller for a seat at Kim's table leaves a bitter taste. In a family already defined by secrecy, favoritism, and denial, she was a chance at fresh air, a reminder that not everyone has to play by Kim's rules. Instead, she becomes proof of just how strong Kim's influence really is, pulling even outsiders into her web of excuses and justifications. By the time Act 5 closes, what we're left with is disappointment. Kim enables, Veronica complies, and the toxic cycle continues unchecked. The people who could have shifted the narrative instead reinforced it, reminding us once again that in the Plath universe, accountability is the rarest currency of all. And then we get to the girlfriends, the quiet observers on the sidelines like Tegan and Kayn. On paper, their presence should bring in some fresh energy, maybe even challenge the boys' more reckless or entitled behavior. Instead, what we see is silence. Not the thoughtful kind, but the complicit kind. They laugh when the boys act out, they nod along when the double standards play out, and they never once step in to say, "Hey, this isn't okay." That silence speaks volumes, because in families like the Plaths, silence isn't neutral, it's an endorsement. By not pushing back, the girlfriends become part of the pattern, validating the behavior instead of questioning it. And for viewers who were hoping these new voices might disrupt the cycle, their compliance feels like yet another letdown. When the girlfriends refuse to challenge the toxicity, they end up reinforcing it, passing the same message forward. This is just how things are done here. But just when it feels like every player in this saga has fallen into their predictable roles, there's a flicker of hope. Amber, or maybe one of the younger siblings, seems to be watching all this with a different lens. They aren't as quick to laugh at the reckless stunts. They aren't as eager to defend the excuses. There's a subtle resistance in their body language, a refusal to fully buy into the family script. It's small, but it's there. A dark horse who might one day break the mold. And honestly, that's part of what keeps viewers hooked. Season 7 doesn't just expose the dysfunction, it magnifies it, showing us how every toxic stereotype in the book can live and breathe in one family. The controlling matriarch, the entitled sons, the silenced daughters, the complicit outsiders, it's all there. But woven into the mess is the lingering question: who will be the first to break free? Who will finally challenge the narrative? That tension, the hope buried inside the dysfunction, is why we keep watching. And it's why these conversations matter. So now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Amber or any of the younger siblings could be the one to finally shift the cycle? Or are the Plaths too far gone? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get into the discussion, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the most shocking reality TV families.